Pivot tables let you reorganize your data dynamically, so they're at their most useful when you're displaying the data inside of a workbook and changing it around to emphasize certain points. That said, if you find a particular arrangement that you like, you can print it out so that you have that arrangement with you, even if you don't have the file. In this movie, I will show you how to print a pivot table, both using the standard printing method and also to define a print area, so all you print is the pivot table. I will use the printpivot sample file, which you can find in the Chapter 7 folder of your exercise files archive. Printing a pivot table, especially if it's the only thing on a worksheet, is a very straightforward process. All you need to do is press Ctrl-P to display the print page of the Backstage view. You see the preview on the right side of the screen over here. You can change your various settings, the printer you want to use, the number of sheets and so on, the number of copies, and then click the print button. But let's say there's something else on the worksheet, and all you want to print is the pivot table itself. I'll show you how to do that now. To go back to the worksheet, I'll click the Go Back button at the top left corner of the Backstage view. And now I'll just add some text below the pivot table in cell B10 and say Updated 3/1/2013 and press Tab. Now if I were to press Ctrl-P, Excel would also try to print that note in cell B10. If all I want to do is print the pivot table, I can define a print area. To do that, I'll click any cell in the body of the pivot table to activate it. And now to select the entire pivot table, remember there is a cell in the body of the pivot table currently selected. I go up to the Analyze Contextual tab, and then in the Actions group, click Select, and click Select Entire Pivot Table. Now I can go to the Page Layout tab of the ribbon, click the Print Area button, and click Set Print Area. And when I click away from the selection, Excel has identified a print area that consists of only the pivot table. The marking doesn't stand out very much because the pivot table has its own border, but you'll see it in a moment when I go to the Backstage view again. And I'll do that by pressing Ctrl-P, and you can see that once again, Excel has identified only the pivot table as the item to be printed. If I click Go Back and click Print Area, and then click Clear Print Area, undoing what I did before. And now when I press Ctrl-P, you can see that Excel will print the text that was underneath the pivot table, even though I didn't intend to print it in this case. And that's the basics of printing a pivot table. If it's the only thing on the worksheet, you can print the worksheet. If there are other worksheet elements you don't want to print, just select the entire pivot table, set a print area based on that selection, and you're good to go.